Russia's defense ministry said on Monday its forces carried out military strikes on military command and energy sites in Ukraine. The attacks come 2 days after Russia accused Ukraine of a drone attack against Russia's Black Sea fleet off the coast of the annexed Crimean Peninsula. Missile strikes were reported in the central Vinnytsia region, as well as Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia in the southeast and Lviv in western Ukraine. A facility at the Dnipro hydroelectric power plant in the Zaporizhzhia region was also reportedly hit.
The armed forces of the Russian Federation continued strikes with long-range high-precision air and sea-based weapons against the military command and energy systems of Ukraine. The goals of the strike were achieved. All designated targets were hit.
Russia has carried out several waves of deadly missile and drone attacks in recent weeks, reportedly destroying almost a third of Ukraine's power stations and other energy-generating facilities ahead of the cold winter period. According to the Ukrainian Prime Minister, hundreds of villages in 7 Ukrainian regions were without power as a result of Russian drone and missile attacks. Ukraine and its Western allies have repeatedly said that targeting civilian infrastructure amounted to war crimes. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has expressed outrage at Russia's decision to halt its participation in the grain deal. On Saturday, Russia suspended participation in the UN grain deal for an indefinite term after what it said was a major Ukrainian drone attack on its Black Sea fleet in Crimea. Ukraine's infrastructure ministry reported that 218 ships involved in grain exports have been blocked, 22 loaded and stuck at ports, 95 loaded and departed from ports, and 101 awaiting inspection.
The grain corridor is a very specific example. There are now 218 pieces of evidence that Russia does not want any genuine agreements. 218 ships waiting to carry food under export contracts or to enter Ukrainian ports. Week after week, Russia slowed down the grain corridor despite its own promises to partners, and now it has completely blocked it. Ukraine, for its part, will do everything to ensure that the grain export initiative continues to work, and I thank everyone who helps our state.
Russia has hit back, saying the deal on the shipping of grain in the Black Sea was being put under strain by Ukraine, due to it being impossible to guarantee the safety of navigation in these areas.
You actually see the aggravation of this conflict in the actions of the Ukrainian side. You can see that it was precisely these actions that, in fact, the Ukrainian side was taking to disrupt this deal, to undermine the atmosphere of trust and guaranteed security. Therefore, it is precisely from this fact that one should proceed that the well-known recent actions of the Ukrainian side led to the fact that the deal is at stake.
Russia's backtracking from the UN broker deal is likely to hit shipments to import-dependent countries, deepening a global food crisis and sparking a surge in prices. Hundreds of thousands of tons of wheat booked for delivery to Africa and the Middle East are at risk following Russia's withdrawal, while Ukrainian corn exports to Europe will get knocked lower.
Well, what can you say? Really sick people. But these sick people are once again putting the world on the verge of a severe food crisis. Russia is the only culprit for the fact that food will now become more expensive for different people in a vast area from West Africa to East Asia. Russia is the reason why people, in particular in Ethiopia, Yemen or Somalia, are left with catastrophic food shortages.
The Grain Initiative, an example of rare wartime cooperation between Ukraine and Russia, has allowed more than 9 million tons of grain in 397 ships to safely leave Ukrainian ports since it was signed in July. Tens of thousands of people gathered in the Czech capital on Sunday to express their solidarity with Ukraine and support for democratic values, with people waving Czech, Ukrainian and EU flags. Sunday's rally was organized by a group called Million Movements for Democracy, which was behind several rallies in support of Ukraine following the February 24th Russian invasion. The group said the anti-government protests, which united the far right with the far left, exploited people's fear of inflation and the war in Ukraine and were trying to undermine democracy.